This show is presented by the 323 Network. You can watch all your favorite 323 friends and shows on the 323 Network YouTube channel. Follow us on all social media platforms at 323Reid. And support us as we continue to grow at patreon.com/323Reid. That's 323REID. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 323. I am your host, Reid Murphy.
I'm really happy for you. I'm gonna let you finish.
Who the fuck is that guy?
Look at the show. I'm the captain.
Welcome to the fucking show.
Fuck Scott.
Good morning and welcome, college football fans. I'm back. I'm rejuvenated. I feel like a new man. Yes, I was on my deathbed. I am your host, Scott Ellia. This is not Reid Murphy, who was so generous of holding the ship down here at College Shame Day, presented by the 323. I am eternally grateful for all that he does in supporting this fine, I guess, mediocre show in the grand scheme of things. Oh. And I guess it's always so fitting with college football coming to a very near end. It's been a wild bowl weekend this past weekend for the holiday season. It only makes sense to have the man, the myth, not so much the myth, but he is a legend, Reid Murphy, here with us on Shame Day. How you doing, Reid?
I'm doing as well as you can during the holidays, right? Like we're going.
Hey, wait, no. Pause. Holidays are over. That's over.
Right.
For folks who are listening and not watching us on the 323 official YouTube channel, the tree is down, folks. The Christmas tree is down, and I could not be happier to take down all this Christmas shit in this house.
Where's your Hanukkah stuff? Where's your Kwanzaa stuff?
Well,
yeah, that's yeah. Holidays are raging on, buddy. Straight into 2025.
Man, that's what's gonna get me canceled, is not recognizing other holidays outside of Christmas.
Not recognizing the gloriousness of Chanukah.
Happy Chanukah.
I mean, it's the glory and the gloriousness. I don't even know what word it is. I don't know what words are right now because we're recording on a Monday. Reid, we're recording on a Monday, releasing on a Tuesday morning for all the morning commute for folks who are stuck going into work on New Year's Eve because the college football playoff. Its first game is going to be tonight, New Year's Eve, and then the other three are going to be New Year's Day games. So it's going to be a great couple extra days of college football, especially after a wild NFL weekend, which currently the San Francisco 49ers and the Detroit Lions are playing on Monday Night Football. Reid and I are facing off against each other in our fantasy football league, and he has Amon-Ra St. Brown, wide receiver for the Detroit Lions, playing right now. And Reid, congratulations, the Lions, they scored a touchdown, but it was Jameson Williams.
Yeah, of course.
It wasn't St. Brown.
It's been the theme of the weekend. There was nothing like listening to. I love when I'm doing, I like to do ship shopping on, Sundays, and I'll listen to fantasy sports radio on Sirius XM. And while I'm listening, I'm just enjoying myself, minding my own business. And I just happen to hear one of Scott's players scores a touchdown. Then boom, oh, we have another touchdown alert. Another one of Scott's players. Then boom, oh, it's another one of Scott's players on like a 40-yard touchdown pass. I'm like, I'm going to turn this off. Couldn't do it.
We talked about that going in once we officially got the bracket all figured out for the fantasy football playoffs for our league. I stumbled in across that finish line to get the 6th seed, which coincidentally was the same way it happened last year, and ended up winning the ever elusive Space Force trophy, which is proudly on display, kind of out of frame, but it's on display.
Proudly on display, probably not leaving that spot.
It's okay. I'll bring it with me to our live watch of the week. What, week 18? What is it? 18 weeks now?
I think we're 18 weeks. Yeah.
I think we're at week 18. So that way, either I'll take the trophy home or I'll leave it with you. But you have some ground to cover. Speaking about ground to cover, Reid, bowl season is in full swing. We're starting to come towards the tail end of it, to where now it's only the college football playoff games of note, and got a couple kind of squeaker games in there, like the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl coming on as well between South Carolina and Illinois. But these games, it's always good. It's always great to see competitive football in college so late into the season. I mean, you have players opting out, you have coaches leaving, you have kids hitting the transfer portal. So it's really great to see that these kids are still willing to suit up and play a full 4 quarters, Cam Ward, of football at a high level. I don't know if you were able to watch any games, but I do have 3 games for you that I watched fairly closely and enjoyed the outcome of all of them. Starting off with the Armed Forces Bowl of Navy and Oklahoma, Navy winning 21-20 over the Sooners. And the reason why, Reid, I love this even more is because it makes that loss to Oklahoma from Alabama even more hilarious, is the fact that they lost to an Oklahoma team that lost late to Navy 21-20. Blake Horvath, just shining quarterback there for Navy, set a Navy record with a 95-yard touchdown run, and later scored the game-winning 6-yard touchdown with 4.5 left to go. Reid, I don't know what Oklahoma can do as far as a rebuild. I mean, they're facing roster with over 24 players in the transfer portal, some key NFL-bound opt-outs from that last game, and Hawkins, quarterback for Oklahoma, threw for 2 touchdowns, but it was just hampered by 6 drop passes and a very inexperienced receiving core. I mean, when you make the jump from the Big 12 now to the SEC, with this being their inaugural season in the SEC, I mean, they finished 6-7 for the second time in Brent Venables' 3 years as the head coach there in Norman. I don't know what they can do. Like, do you see them being able to right the ship at all there in Oklahoma, or do you think this is just going to be the norm for the next couple of years?
It's a good chance of it being the norm at least next year. I did like, because it was something that we covered when I hosted last week or whenever, 2 weeks ago, John Mateer from Washington State transferring over to Oklahoma. I think that'll be a big push. I liked a lot of the stats that I was reading up on him. I liked some of the film that I saw of his game. So maybe that's what you need in the right direction. And, following one of his coaches from there over to Oklahoma, maybe that can be just the right system, the right cycle, the right push that they need to elevate themselves back into the limelight. But it is kind of a shame to see Oklahoma, to see what it's become especially since Lincoln Riley left, where, I mean, they were a perennial contender. They were very fun to talk about, very fun to watch year in, year out. This year, you just don't really give a shit about them. So I'm hoping that John Mateer can maybe change something for them. I think that's a silver lining.
Well, I mean, especially with him coming from Washington State, there was another Washington State quarterback we'll talk about here in a second that transferred last year to a perennial college football program, and you saw the success that he was able to bring there in South Beach. But a couple cool historical figures for you, Reid, because I know you're a man of history and you like fun facts. Navy versus Oklahoma. Navy now improves to 2-0 all time against the Sooners, with the first win dating back to 1965, where neither one of us were a thought. And also, Navy defeated an SEC opponent for the first time since the 1955 Sugar Bowl.
Interesting. That's
so congrats to Navy. I mean, Horvath returning next season with a very, solid group of offensive starters. They open next season, August 30th against VMI. And then for Brent Venables and gang in Oklahoma, he'll be on to year 4. They'll be hosting Illinois State on August 30th as well. Hopefully rebounding from consecutive 6-7 campaigns the last 2 seasons. Before I get into that quarterback in South Beach, for you, Reid, congratulations in the Alamo Bowl. Number 17, BYU 36, number 20, Colorado 14. They are who we thought they were. They can't compete at a high level. They can only, beat up on the little brothers. Once they get suited up and they have, the powerhouse that is BYU staring at them in the face, they can't do anything. And I couldn't be more excited to see Shedeur Sanders and Shiloh Sanders and Travis Hunter making the jump to the NFL, all declaring for the draft, not for their sake, but for everyone's sake in college football, because now we don't have to listen to them at all. I have a very just a suspicious feeling that Deion will also make the jump with Las Vegas Raiders head coach Antonio Pierce looking like he's going to be leaving. And who better yet to get suited up for the head coach to sell some tickets than Deion Sanders? Oh, and also they'll have a top 5 to 6 draft pick. So coupling him up with Shedeur in Vegas. Am I crazy for thinking that, Reid? Or could that possibly happen?
You're not. I wouldn't say that you're crazy for thinking it. It's this whole thing where it's like you said, they beat up on the little brothers throughout college football, but they get to a team in BYU, and not just to hype them up that I'm a BYU fan, but this was a very, very close playoff team. Like they were right up until the last couple weeks, they would have been in the college football playoff. You go up, you take Colorado, put them up against a team that was on the edge like that, on the cusp. They beat the hell out of them. Not a good look. That's not a good look. That's not inspiring. It was very weird to see the ESPN headline championing, Shedeur and Travis Hunter for finishing things off well, and like very small, saying at a loss, like not even acknowledging BYU in the headline. So I'm curious as to what Colorado will look like for Deion Sanders, for Coach Prime, without Travis Hunter, without Shedeur Sanders. Is he going to be able to get the same level of success with the program? Without them, I don't think that he can. I think Colorado would look noticeably worse next season. I don't think Deion's going to be there for it. I agree with you on that. I don't know if it's that he winds up with another college, if he winds up with a better program, possibly, if he continues to take that steps. I don't know if there's an opportunity for that anyway. But to see him go to the NFL, to follow Shedeur, I mean, there's no real telling where he's going to go yet, simply because the Raiders have perpetually messed up their draft stock. The Giants messed up their draft stock. There's no telling who's going to get him. But I could see if Deion gets we talked about Dallas, having the connections with Jerry Jones and the Cowboys. I could see Deion going to them or to the Raiders. The Raiders would be the kind of spot, especially with Tom Brady and ownership, where they would try to make a splash and bring in somebody of that level to go there. Yeah, I could see Deion leaving just to escape what Colorado's going to be next year. And I think you got a very heavy dose of that in that game against BYU.
Right. And especially with Vegas, with all the glitz and the glamour and, everything that Las Vegas has to offer, it just seems to be like, I guess the most outside of Dallas, the most perfect landing spot for Deion to go. Like I said, top 5-6 pick. You have the chance of getting Shedeur to drop to you at that point. Because I think a lot of people, especially the Giants, I don't think the Giants are going to try to take a reach on him, even though he had Giants cleats in his locker. But Colorado, I think people need to understand, temper their expectations with Colorado for next year. Yes, they do have, highly touted 5-star recruit quarterback Julian Lewis coming in and looking like he's going to be, taking the lead there in Boulder. But I don't see them having, I don't even want to use the term success, because I wouldn't consider what they've been doing very successful. I mean, it's been very mediocre football. They've just been getting pumped up because, it's just the cash cow that ESPN can keep, touting out there for ratings. But enough Colorado talk. Let's talk about that BYU team led by Jake Retzlaff, the BYU Jew himself, efficient under center, passing for over 150 yards. Tyler Batty led the defensive pressure, helping limit Colorado's prolific, quote unquote, prolific passing game. And some key special teams contributor, Parker Kingston, with 82 punt return yards and a touchdown. Yeah, Shador threw for 202 touchdowns. Travis, you made 106 yards receiving, including a 43-yard touchdown. But hey, teams can't win with just 2 players. Hopefully, Colorado takes that to heart and they try to make a more well-rounded team and not rely so heavily just on 2 guys like that. BYU improved 11-2, marking their 3rd bowl win in 4 appearances. Defensive coordinator Jay Hill's schemes were extremely pivotal to disrupting Colorado's rhythm. He just didn't look like Shador could get comfortable. That offense couldn't get going, which is exactly what you want to do and pressure a quarterback of his stature. Yes, Colorado, they did finish 9-4 in the season, averaging about 34.5 points per game before being absolutely stifled by BYU. I mean, hell, Colorado was held to 61 total yards in the first half, including -9 yards rushing. Like, you can't be expected to compete when you're having, you're having some kind of production like that. Of course, Colorado, they will be hosting Georgia Tech to begin the season next year on August 30th, hoping to regroup just like Oklahoma is and address the offensive consistency in the offseason. And then for BYU opening the 2025 season at home against Portland State, hoping to keep building upon all the success they've had here. Do we know anybody from Portland State?
I was going to say, do we know where Portland State is? We know where Portland State is, but yeah.
I would imagine it's Oregon.
I'm jumping on
any notable alumni? Yeah, I'll put the producer to work. Oh boy, but yes, folks, before we get into the college football playoff kind of breakdown, the last game to really talk about that, the takeaway was the Pop-Tarts Bowl. That's right, the Pop-Tarts Bowl of number 18, Iowa State 42, number 13, Miami 41. High-scoring game, which is exactly what you hope to see. This is Iowa State's best season ever. With their 11th win, the Cyclones reached a historic milestone for the program, exemplifying resilience and grit, which was the word that Reid likes to kind of describe me as, being gritty. Rocco Beck's the game MVP, led a late game 15-play drive, sealing the win with his 4th touchdown. His 270 yards passing and 3 touchdowns, solidifying his outstanding performance. And he also selected the cinnamon roll for the giant toaster Pop-Tart celebration, which, Reid, I don't know about you, but this Pop-Tart Bowl celebration at the end of the game is becoming one of my favorite things to watch for bowl weekends.
The Pop-Tart Bowl is the perfect chaotic bowl. Like, that's what we need more of with these college bowl games. Watching UM's mascot try to eat the Pop-Tart mascot. This is what we need.
Right. And speak about fighting. I mean, Cam Ward's incredible first half kept Miami competitive, but of course he eventually pulled himself out the game before the first half was even over. And poor Damian Martinez, running back there in Miami, he had a career best 179 yards rushing, and it just was not enough to get Miami over the hump, who have only won 1 bowl game in the last 16 appearances. Miami, I think I might have to get fact checked. So TikTok fans, fact check me. I don't care. Up next for both the teams, Iowa State, they'll be opening the 2025 season with a very highly touted and marquee game against Kansas State in Dublin, Ireland, which I have flashbacks for the Dublin, Ireland game. And then Miami, they'll be kicking off their season at home against Notre Dame, and also another much anticipated showdown to begin the season. Reid, you have a very interesting look on your face. Did you find somebody for Portland State that's confusing you?
I like to save the notable alumni stuff for the end of the show, usually, just to close the loop, but I couldn't, it's just this one. There's a curious trail that goes through Portland State. I think they've discovered that they're the grounds, how Iowa State is tight end U and stuff. Right. They put out great tight ends. Some places USC plates out famous quarterbacks. Right. Portland State has put out a lot of notable Playboy bunnies. I don't know if that's
Playboy bunny U
model. Yeah, I guess just beautiful women go to Portland State.
And Julius Thomas.
Julius Thomas went there. Phil Knight's son went there. Zero from John Wick 3. He went there. But yeah, then you have Holly Madison went there, who was Hugh Hefner's probably most famous girlfriend, Sarah Jean Underwood, was a Playboy bunny. Carrie Ann Paniche was Miss Oregon State, who was stripped of her title because she posed nude for Playboy.
Interesting.
And then Courtney Love.
Oh, God. Oh, God.
But yeah, so your football alumni, Julius Thomas, played there. Yeah.
Hey, at least they got one, right?
Yeah. He's only 36.
You know what's better than one, Reid?
What?
Four. And the reason why 4 is better than one, because we have 4 college football playoff games coming up for you find this week. And you can't ask for anything more to kick off the new year. I mean, like I said, starting off at the Peach Bowl, number 5 Texas, number 4 Arizona State. They'll playing at 1 o'clock on New Year's Day. Texas, of course, is favored, Reid. There should be no surprise there. Longhorns are bigger, faster, stronger. They're favored by almost 2 touchdowns. This is, I feel, a true David versus Goliath kind of game. I would have a very sneaky suspicion that Arizona State might be able to edge out Texas, but Texas, national leaders in takeaways with 29 on the season. First in yards per attempt allowed, second in points per game allowed, third in total yards allowed, and offensive playmakers left and right. I mean, the depth of offensive weapons is extremely scary, trying to get them matched up on the defensive side of the ball for Arizona State, because they've proven time and time again their ability to dominate in critical moments. Arizona State has a very daunting uphill battle. They're missing top wide receiver Jordan Tyson to a collarbone injury, which is a significant blow. And they're going to be relying on running back Cam Scatterbo as the second leading receiver, who's averaging about 3 catches per game. I mean, he's a extremely talented running back and one of those guys that are, kind of sneak into the NFL draft and might surprise you at the next level. But overcoming that Texas defense, quarterback Sam Leavitt of Arizona State has his work cut out for him. He has the second most touchdown passes since week 6 in college football, but he's facing a very, very elite defense. Reid, does Arizona State, do you feel like they have a shot, or do you think Texas there's just way too much?
I think there's just way too much with Texas in general. You saw my picks during first round. I was really believing, this could be like a, the basketball brackets where you're going to get some Cinderella teams, some upsets, any given Sunday kind of shit. But when it comes to these football teams and these universities, these programs, like Texas just has it all compared to Arizona State. You might get double-digit points from Arizona State. I doubt that happens, though, too. Mm-hmm. Texas's defense is very staunch. It's very tricky, very menacing. Put that along with Quinn Ewers needing to make a statement here and needing to set the stage going forward through these playoffs. I think Texas handles this one easily.
Yeah, it's gonna take an all-out effort, like I said, for running back Cam Scatterbo, who's a true dual threat running back, 1,500 yards rushing, 500 yards receiving this season, a rare feat for Arizona State since the 70s. And then also, like I said, quarterback Sam Leavitt, he's going to have to deliver an exceptional, flawless performance against Texas's elite defense. But that's not it, folks, because after that, 5 p.m., New Year's Day, the Rose Bowl. And this is going to be one for the ages. We got a rematch of number 8 Ohio State versus number 1 Oregon, facing off traditional Rose Bowl style game. Now updated to include the realignment dynamics. Ohio State is favored somehow by 2.5 points, reflecting just how closely matched these two teams are. Reid, it's going to be a great matchup between two extremely high-powered teams. Do you think Ohio State is deserving of that 2.5 point bump? Like, do you see them having an edge over Oregon, or is Vegas just, I don't know, trying to influence the market as much as they can?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think there's a little bit of influence there. I'm personally surprised that Ohio State has the bump there. And personally, I take Oregon on this. Oregon has looked overwhelming all season. They've looked deserving of that top spot. Ohio State, I know they're playing desperate. I know Ryan Day needs this. They know that they need a championship appearance to justify anything that's going on and everything that's happened this season to make, and it's true, everybody will forget any of the shit that Ohio State's been through this season. Nobody's going to think about it if they can win the Natty this season. I think that's going to be a close, fun game. I think Oregon pulls it out there in the last second, but I'm honestly, at this point, I'm not going to be shocked if Ohio State can pull it together.
Right. I mean, there's a couple key storylines for both of these teams. Ohio State, they're singing that redemption after a loss to Michigan a month ago, also losing to to Oregon in the Big Ten championship game. But I feel with them being able to get that extra game in the first round against Tennessee and kind of knock off the rust, show that they can have a dominant performance, especially, against the Tennessee team. That's a very talented SEC team that could sneak up on anybody. I mean, they're playing at a peak performance, with possibly the best wide receiver room in the country. I mean, hell, they're led by, freshman wide receiver Jeremiah Smith stands out as one of the most dynamic players left in the playoffs. And their defense broke up 9 passes against Tennessee, the most in 3 years for the Buckeyes. But on the other side of the ball, Oregon, I mean, they're looking to get an undefeated 16-0 season for the first time ever since 1894's Yale team. No one's ever gone 16-0 since then, which is just historic. God, I don't know if Dan Lanning is a great coach, but he's going to have his work cut out for him for Ohio State. I think he's going to take the 2.5 dog kind of to heart. And I think, Dylan Gabriel and Tez Johnson on offense there for Oregon, they're going to come out just with their head on fire. And I can't be more excited. And another really cool historic fact for you, Reid, for this, because I know you love it. The last time Ohio State lost twice to the same team in the same season was 1894 against Wittenberg, ending with a 6-5 record.
I was just seeing, while going through all this, I was going to look up that Yale season, who they played. I wound up discovering the 1906 Yale Bulldogs team, where they finished undefeated. Yale finished with an undefeated season, and Princeton finished with an undefeated season that year. They faced each other. Do you know who won that game? Would you like to take a guess?
Neither. They finished the game. Wait, was I right?
They finished the game 0-0 in a tie in the championship.
God. You know what? One game that I would be okay with this season, the college football playoff ending 0-0, neither team winning, and then neither one of them gets to move on to the next round. It's going to be the Sugar Bowl of the number 7 Notre Dame and number 2 Georgia. They will be rounding out the New Year's Day games. Kickoff at 8:45. Georgia's once dominant program is facing some major downturn. The rushing game is at its lowest production in over a decade. The defense just haven't been more vulnerable since like the early 2010s, 2013 season. And star quarterback Carson Beck is out with an elbow injury and has declared for the NFL draft. So Gunnar Stockton will be making his first career start. Though Stockton has showed a couple flashes against Texas, Notre Dame's defense poses a much greater challenge there for Georgia. Notre Dame, on the other hand, they're poised to capitalize on this. I mean, they have one of the top running backs in college football in Jeremiah Love. Quarterback Riley Leonard in the secondary in this matchup is it's very much in their favor going against such a young, inexperienced quarterback. And they're also riding an 11-game winning streak after a strong finish to the season. Riley Leonard, though, has more career touchdowns, 75, than Gunnar Stockton has passing attempts at 51. Which I found to be a very interesting little factoid for you, Reid. It just goes to show you that experience is probably going to end up winning out. But even though there's going to be more experience under center, you have to look at the coaching matchup. I mean, Marcus Freeman there at Notre Dame has quietly established himself as a top-tier coach, leading Notre Dame to its best position in decades. But you forget who's on the other side, that other sideline, Reid. Kirby Smart, college football playoff record 6-2, which is impressive. But Georgia, they're facing an uphill battle with so many challenges this season. I feel like they're kind of in comparison to me for what fantasy football league. They kind of just stumbled into it, and they're going to try to make the most out of this opportunity. Notre Dame, they haven't won a major bowl game in 30 years, making this even more important for Notre Dame's relevance in college football, which seemingly you see the lack of success there in South Bend, and that name is just carrying them throughout season in and out every season. So do you think Notre Dame can capitalize on the inexperience on the field, or do you think Kirby Smart's going to be able to get them in line?
I typically don't want to, doubt like that experience and that skill level over there at
Georgia.
But I don't know, man. And I'm more curious to get your thoughts on him as a whole. But Gunnar Stockton, I wasn't crazy about Carson Beck in general, right? He was one of those players where he's going to give you 4 turnover opportunities a game. He's going to give a defense 4 turnover opportunities. But Gunnar Stockton wasn't really showing me much. And I guess that can come with inexperience, and that comes with, he's the backup quarterback there. This Notre Dame team has been feisty, though. And Marcus Freeman's been coaching him up like he really, truly wants this and is trying to put that name out there. I think Notre Dame has a very strong chance at taking out Georgia. It's something that you don't want to do. I completely steer people against it. Don't bet against Georgia. You don't bet against that, what Kirby calls that program. And it will bite you in the ass. Kirby Smart is an excellent coach. He has steered that program the right way, but I don't know, man. I think the youth over there and just the general, question mark at quarterback is going to be enough for Notre Dame to take this. Do you think Gunnar Stockton is an improvement over Carson Beck right now? I've met a couple Georgia fans who were genuinely pleased that Carson Beck got hurt. So I don't know if this is an improvement. Yeah.
Of course they said. No, if you're asking me if I had both quarterbacks healthy, I mean, it just makes sense. You're going to want Carson Beck in there. You're going to want the experience. You're going to want the guy who's been in the big show and under the lights more times than you like to really remember for Georgia's success over the last couple seasons. I think the Georgia fans who are saying that they're okay with Carson Beck getting hurt and getting Gunnar Stockton in there are just more blowing smoke up your butt. I think they're just trying to make the best of a shitty situation, because you can't tell me you would rather have a sophomore quarterback with as little experience under center and one of the grandest stages of them all over your senior quarterback with all the success that he's been able to bring to Georgia. You look at Notre Dame's team. Yeah, they beat Indiana that first round 27-17, but if you compare the Indiana's roster and Georgia's roster, apples to apples, there's no comparison there. I mean, top to bottom, the depth of Georgia is so vastly more deep than Indiana's is, and Indiana was still able to put up 17 on Notre Dame. So I feel like Kirby Smart and the coaching staff and the senior leaders that are going to be on there outside of Carson Beck, who is unfortunately hurt, they're going to get the rest of the young kids ready to go. They're going to have that support system around them, and I would not be shocked if Georgia just routs Notre Dame by a lot. They're playing at home. They're playing in Atlanta.
That's true.
They're playing at home.
It's an unfair.
What do you want?
It's unfair how that worked out.
Oh boy, you want to speak about unfair and how it worked out. It still bothers the bejesus out of me that Ashton Jeanty got shafted with the Heisman loss to Travis Hunter, but we're not going to shaft him here at the 323 Network, Reid. That's right, because this week's game of the week is the Fiesta Bowl. Number 6 Penn State, number 3 Boise State. New Year's Eve, 7:30. Be there or not. You're going to miss a great one. I think Boise State's going to come out and they're going to do what they did in the very first Fiesta Bowl when they completely upset Oklahoma and come in here and just shock the world. And James Franklin's going to get fired. And I can't wait for that even more, because Boise State is one of those teams. It's one of those top tier group of 5 teams that gets shit on year in and year out simply because they're a group of 5 team. But this is a team that I would easily put up there with anybody else. I think they're going to give Penn State a run for their money. Penn State are favored by, I think they're 11 points right now. I think it opened up at it. So Boise State 11-point underdogs, which is just completely insane to me. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's something I just don't know and I'm missing. But Boise State, they're coming in the biggest game in the school history and hoping to pull off this historic upset. Penn State bringing one of nation's most dominant defenses, peaking at the right time. But there's always a trap game, Reid. There's one every single season, whether it's the college football playoff or the NFL playoffs. One of these teams are bound to lose. And there's a reason why they got that first round bye, is because of the success they've been doing out there in Idaho. I mean, quarterback Madsen, efficient. He's thrown for 20-plus touchdowns and with fewer than 5 turnovers this season. And of course, it's going to be crucial for Boise State to counter Penn State's defensive focus on star running back Ashton Jeanty. So if they're going to hyper-focus on Ashton, then quarterback Madsen's going to have to really air it out and make them pay for it. Let's speak about that running back, Ashton Jeanty, averaging a staggering 192 rushing yards per game, needs just 132 yards more to break Barry Sanders' single-season rushing record. And that success, it just hinges on that offensive line, specifically center Mason Randolph, who has propelled Jeanty to 435 yards rushing in the last 2 games. But like I mentioned, they're going up against that Penn State dominant defense, leading the Big Ten with 102 tackles for a loss, 7th in the nation. And that defensive line, anchored by the likes of Abdul Carter, Zane Durant, Danny Dennis Sutton, combining for over 3.5 tackles of loss per game. They have not allowed a single player to hit Jeanty's season average of 192 rushing yards this season. Reid, I know it's, we've already mentioned Boise State. They're hoping for a historic upset. How do you see them handling Penn State's defense? Do you think it's going to be a completely lights out, like they're going to be stopped completely? Or do you feel that Ashton Jeanty is going to be able to produce at a high level like he's been doing all season?
I don't think that you're going to be able. I don't think there's any team that can just flat out stop Ashton Jeanty. This dude is he's an NFL All-Pro playing on the college level right now. So he is going to get those numbers. And I think you're going to have teams like Penn State who are going to game plan for that. Like, you have to plan with it in mind that, hey, he's going to get chunk yardage. He's going to score on us probably at least once. How do we prevent everything else on offense? We can allow a little bit of Jeanty, a little bit of the boogeyman to break through. We need to completely overwhelm that quarterback in Madison. We need to completely shut down their receivers or do some trickery that just fucks up with the coverage. Mostly just throw the experience that you have as Penn State playing against all these other, gigantic schools that you have. Utilize that against I'm not going to call him a lower level quarterback, but this is the kind of quarterback that a team like Penn State wants to play against. You want to rattle and put a lot of pressure onto him. Game plan for Jeanty, just bend, don't break with him, and you should be all right. I am personally rooting for Boise State to pull off the upset, but barring James Franklin doing James Franklin things, I think Penn State comes out of this one pretty well off. But like we said, James Franklin, he's the perpetual I'm gonna jump in front of my own way kind of guy. He really messes up big chances like this. So anything is possible with this game. Yes, he is on that Cristobal level, that Mario Cristobal level.
A Cristobal, James Franklin level.
Yep, it's like if they're their own tier on coaching rankings.
Right. I mean, it's just, I can't be more excited to start off the new year and all these great matchups we got going on, and to look forward to seeing who's going to be coming out the victors, because the winner of the Peach and the Peach Bowl and the Rose Bowl, they'll be facing off in the Cotton Bowl January 10th at 7:30, and then the winners of the Fiesta Bowl that we just mentioned between Penn State and Boise State, they'll be playing the winner of Notre Dame and Georgia. Which you take a 1,000-foot view, Reid, if you were to pick one team from these 4 games that you are gonna put your money on to end up being the national champion this year? Who do you got?
That is,
and I will allow you to change your mind next on next week.
I appreciate that because it's really tough. If you had asked me a couple weeks ago, I would have probably defiantly said Oregon, with a slight hinge towards Georgia, just because of the experience there. Honestly, right now, I hate to say it, and I might be dead wrong. Here in just a couple of days, I'm going to say, I'm gonna go out there and say Texas right now. I'm gonna roll with Sark. I'm gonna roll with Coach Sark there and say Texas. And this is how. And look, like I told everybody, you saw how week 1 went for me, or how round 1 went for me. Don't take my shit to the bank with college. But I like Texas's. I like what they did against Clemson. I love the ability that they have if Quinn Ewers can get shit going and not be in his head. They have all the ability in the world, all the talent in the world to take on anybody that's left here in the playoff. So give me Texas if they can keep shit straight. If Sark can, hold the ship and steady the ship, which I think Sark is a great coach. I think Texas takes this whole thing. Close second, though, on this, and another one might prove me wrong within just a matter of hours. Notre Dame. I like a lot. I like a lot of what Notre Dame is doing right now and what Marcus Freeman's doing. If there's ever been an opportunity for them to really make the statement and make that push, I think it's this year. So, yeah, give me Texas or Notre Dame here.
You know what? I like it because I am also going to ride the bandwagon with you, and I'm also going to go with Texas. I think Texas is the team to beat. Oregon, with how much firepower they have on offense, I think they've been one of those teams that haven't been really tested a lot. And then with Texas playing in their first inaugural season in the SEC, they've had to go up against some really hard-fought games this season. And if they go up against Ohio State, Ryan Day is just going to shit his pants. It's just one of those things. And then, if they end up winning the Peach Bowl against Arizona State, they'll be, like I said, they'll be playing in the Cotton Bowl, which will be live from Arlington, Texas, just north of Austin, Texas, where the University of Texas is found. So I have a feeling it's going to be a nice little home game for them before they move on to the championship game. Notre Dame, I will support your belief that they could get it simply based off of the track that they would have to go, because between Penn State, Boise State, and Georgia, and then on this side of the bracket, it's definitely the softer side, which is why I feel like they definitely need to look into reseeding next year, maybe in the next rendition of the college football playoff, and look into that because the top half of that bracket between Texas, Arizona State, Ohio State, and Oregon is definitely the murderer's row, as they'd like to say, that you would want to face.
That's where I would have to put it. If Notre Dame beats Georgia, if Notre Dame can beat Georgia, I wholeheartedly believe that they would beat either Penn State or Boise State, and get to the national championship. It's whether they go up again. I believe they beat Ohio State. I believe they would beat Arizona State. Oregon or Texas would be a little bit of a different situation, but I don't know. I just like the magic that Notre Dame has right now.
I like it. And speaking about magic, we still have a couple weeks left, Reid, of the Wheel to Generate betting slip. We don't need the wheel this week, Reid. I think the wheel's going to make an appearance somewhere else on the 323 network this week. We will we'll tease it right now. We don't know where he's going to show up, but he's going to show up. But we still will put together the Wheel to Generate betting slip for you all this week. The only place to find it, not now, later. Before the kickoff I promise you it'll be on there before kickoff of the Penn State Boise State game at 7:30 at the 323 College Shame Day Instagram page. You can find all my picks there. If you want to ride with me and lose some money, go for it. I like losing with people, but if you want to win, that's even better, because these 4 games are going to be a doozy, and I have a feeling that it's going to make us a lot of money this week. Reid, before we let these fine folks go off and enjoy the rest of their Tuesday, what do you have in store on the main channel? Anything fun, anything interesting to roll out the new year? Anything for the holidays? What do we got going on?
We are relaxed as hell going into the final Ricks versus Gricks of the regular season. We're going to be playing it very by ear because we're technically still in our vacation period. We're giving you all still great free content here in the middle of what is a vacation break, technically, for everybody else. But NFL football is still going on. There's a shit ton of games to pick from this week. I'm still figuring out if we're going to do 6 games or if we might just say, screw it. Let's do every matchup for week 18.
Hey, you got my vote. Let's go out with a bang.
But, we'll see how that goes. And, of course, we have plenty of fun stuff going into the playoffs. We'll get a lot of coverage and a lot of preview and a lot of predictions going into that. Maybe some live shows, maybe some live watches. So, as we coordinate, we'll coordinate with you folks.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Reid, for joining us as always. And thank you all at home. I PowerPoint. Thank you all. I know you can't see, I know it's an audio medium, you can't see me pointing, but I hope that it came off through the audio medium. But thank you all for tuning in to the 323 Network podcast. We appreciate your support and passion for college football. Please stay connected with us through Instagram, Facebook, at 323 College Shame Day, at 323 Reid, on YouTube, 323 Network, everywhere. Don't forget to subscribe and catch our latest episodes where podcasts can be found. Reid, I've started dabbling a little bit in the Apple podcast world. I usually am a Spotify kind of guy, but I've been dabbling a little bit over there, and it ain't too shabby. It ain't too shabby. So I don't want to tell people where to focus. And then also, what's happening in the next couple of days? It's going to be a new year, which means it's a new month. That's right, folks, a new month. And this might be the last one for the season, folks, because once the college football playoffs are done, Scott's taking a little bit of a break. Yeah. That's going to take a little bit, take a back seat, and we're going to recalibrate a little bit for you guys going into next season. But don't miss out on our monthly giveaway for a chance to win a $25 Fanatics gift card to grab yourself your own brand new favorite game day gear. Remember to enter, all you have to do. That's it. All you have to do is just follow College Shame Day on Instagram at 323 College Shame Day for your chance to win. And of course, if you want to hedge the bets and kind of stuff the ballot box with your name, earn extra entries with likes, comments, sharings of the posts, just interacting with us in general. Do what you got to do. But until next time, embrace the shame, and thank you again for listening to the 323 Network and College Shame Day.